Lesson 110 has to do with data, finding the mean, the median, and the mode of a set of data. So we're going to jump right in. The mean. Now this is vocabulary. You should know these words. The mean is the sum of the data divided by the number of data items. Sometimes the mean is referred to as the average. So to find the mean, we first add up all the data. So if we have 10 items, we add them all up. Then we divide by how many there were. So if there were 10, we divide by 10. Let's look at our example. Let's first count how many items we have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we know we're going to divide by 8. So first thing we're going to do is add them all up. So 8 plus 9 plus 6 plus 9 plus 8 plus 8 plus 10 plus 8, and yes, you may use a calculator, is 66. 66 divided by 8, because that's how many items we had, 8 items, gives us a mean or an average of 8.25. Now when you're doing these practice problems, if you get a decimal that's longer than 2 places, then round it. Round it to just 1 decimal place. If it has 2, just leave 2. But if it has more than 2, round it to 1 decimal place. All right. Now, another vocabulary word is outlier. An outlier is a data item that is much higher or lower than the other items in the set. In other words, it lies outside where the majority of the data is. So, for example, if we took a quiz and we had almost all of the scores were right around 80, 82, 87, 89, 85, 84, there was one person that got 100, that would be an outlier. Or if we had a lot of scores in the 80s, but one person got a 50, that would be an outlier. We hope we don't have that last part. Okay, so how does an outlier affect the mean? If an outlier is high, like our example of one person having 100, then it's going to raise the mean. And if it's low, it's going to lower the mean. That's probably pretty obvious to you, but sometimes they will ask you that question. Our next vocabulary is median. Median means middle. So the median is the middle value, but here's the catch, when the data are arranged in numerical order. So if they give you data, for example, our one we used earlier, and they're all mixed up, they're not in order, numerical order. The 6 is the smallest, the 10 is the largest, and then we have a couple of different 8s and we have a couple of 9s. So we would need to arrange them in order first before we find the middle. This is the one that I find most mistakes are made, and it's one very simple reason. When they rewrite their data in order, they skip some data. Usually it's just 1 or 2, but the easiest way to eliminate that mistake is to count how many data items, and after you've rewritten them in order, count them again. Make sure that you have all of the data items. It is really easy, especially when they're all really similar, to make that mistake of missing one. So don't let that happen to you. Make sure that you have all of your data and you have it in order. Then you're going to find the middle value. So basically take away the bottom, take away the top. Keep doing that until you get just that one in the middle. Now you're only going to have one in the middle if you have an uneven amount of data. So if you have 9 pieces of data, you're going to have that one value that's right in the middle. But if you have 8 pieces of data, you're going to end up with 2 numbers that are in the middle. And here's what you do if that happens. If the number of values is even, then you find the mean of the two middle. So let's go back and look at this example again. If we put these in order, the 6 would cancel out with the 10, because that's the high and the low. The next lowest is an 8, and the next highest is a 9. Then we would have another 8 and another 9. And then we would have, hold on, what did I forget? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We do have an even number. So we have a 10 and a 9 and a 9. And we have a 6, an 8, and an 8. So we have 2 8s in the middle. So in that particular example, since both of them are the same number in the middle, it's just 8. What if your two middle values were a 5 and a 6? Then you would have to find the halfway mark between them, which would be 5.5 or 5.5. What if it was 7 and 10? Again, if you find the middle of that, the easiest way to do that, if it's not obvious to you, is to add them together and divide by 2. So you would take 17 divided by 2, and you would get 8.5. Okay, let's look at our last vocabulary. Mode. Mode is the item or items, because there could be more than one mode, that occurs the most frequently in your data. Okay, so on our original example here, 8 would be our mode, because we have 1, 2, 3, 4 8s. Nothing else is 4 times or more. So 8 would be our mode. If none of them repeat, if you have an 80 and an 81 and an 82 and an 84 and an 87 and an 88 and a 90, you have no mode. You just don't have any. You don't put them all down. Some people want to do that. There's just no mode. If you have an 80 and an 80 and an 82 and an 82 and an 84 and then an 86 and an 86, then you would have 3 modes. You had 3 numbers that all occurred 2 times each. So all 3 of them would be your modes. Okay? Mode is the one that you use when, well, mostly use when either your values are very repetitive or you're looking at non-numerical data. Like, for example, if we were looking at what kind of pets everybody had or what kind of pizza they like. That's the kind of data where you use mode the most, where you're looking for the most common. Okay? All right, we'll do some practice.